Hey, how's it going? Ben here. Great to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. So in this video, we're going to be continuing on the topic of teaching English here in Thailand, and I'm going to share my experience and give you some personal tips that I've picked up along the way. My name's Ben. I've been working and living in Thailand for around 5 years. For 4 of those years, I've been teaching English in schools. So that's why I'm making this series, because there was a lot of questions I had before I started my career, and there weren't that many answers online. So I decided to make this series of videos. This video specifically, we're going to look at how to find a job. So how to find a teaching job here in Thailand. So if you're looking for work, if you want to start a career as an English teacher here in Thailand, then maybe you'll find this video useful. Because that's what we're going to talk about today. What I'm going to show you is essentially how I would find work. So there are many different routes you could take. You could go through agencies, you can pay people to find you work, but I don't really think that's a good idea. And although I've been hired by agencies in the past, what I'm going to share with you today is the route that I would personally take, and I recommend you take too for various reasons that we'll get into a little bit in this video. What we're going to start with is how not to find a job. So we're going to look at some of the different routes you can take and why I don't necessarily recommend them, although some of them I would in certain circumstances. Everyone's different, everyone has personal preferences, so maybe a different route is right for you. So that's why I'll give you a little bit of an overview, and then we'll just get into it, and I'll show you where I would look for a job and how I would start applying for teaching positions out here in the Kingdom of Thailand. All right, without further ado, let's jump into it and have a look at how to find a teaching job here in Thailand. All right, so yeah, here's our opening page. Find a teaching job in Thailand, and this is one of my favorite pictures I've took out here. This was in like the first week I was in Thailand at a floating market. All right, so like I mentioned, I'm going to start by telling you how not to find a teaching job in Thailand. So I'm doing this because there are some mistakes that I feel I made. Well, not necessarily mistakes, but things I could have done better. Things that would have maybe made me starting with a higher salary, for example, maybe starting with a better job position, in a better situation in terms of my contract. So yeah, this is the way. I'm going to show you a few ways that I don't necessarily recommend you start your teaching career first before I show you how I do recommend you start your teaching career by finding work. Okay, so this first one is a big red cross from me. I definitely don't think you should do this. Okay, so this is paying for a job. So don't pay for a job. All right. So yeah, this is actually quite common. I've seen it a lot, especially now. What would happen, I don't want to name names of companies. I could, but I'm not going to. I don't want to get involved in that. However, I will say that if you go to like a travel agent, for example, I know this is true in the UK at least, if you go to those big sort of high street travel agents, they offer like experience packages, okay? So maybe you can volunteer doing something, maybe you can volunteer helping animals. I see that like maybe you're helping elephants somewhere in Asia. Maybe you're working at an elephant rescue kind of center. Maybe you're helping stray dogs. There's lots of things like that. There are orphanages where you can sort of volunteer your time to help look after children. So there's lots of really good things you can do and lots of really cool things. And I'm not against paying for those experiences if that's what you want to do. I think that's a very noble thing to do, a very worthwhile thing to do. I also imagine a lot of the money raised from the sale of that experience to you should go to those people, will go to those animals, which is a wonderful thing. I'm not trying to badmouth that at all. However, I do object to English teaching being packaged as one of those experiences. You're not volunteering your time. You're taking a full-time job position. This isn't volunteer work. You won't be able to nip in and out as fit. You won't have a flexible schedule by any stretch of the imagination. You know, you'll be set, you'll be in the school. Your school won't be expecting you, for you to be expecting like some kind of internship, as it's sometimes packaged as. Your school will be expecting a full-time English teacher that they're paying, and just because your money may then be channeled through the people who sold you this package, you may be on a reduced salary, and all sorts of complications will occur. Also, it's very expensive. If we look at this example, like I said, I've cropped out the name. I don't want to get involved in that, but you can see like the program fee. So this is a full 1 semester like teaching job essentially, and they're selling this to you. So they're selling a job to you, which I don't even sure the legality of that, but that they've packaged it as an experience, whatever, and they're selling it to you for $1,700. That's crazy. you don't need to pay any money to get a job. You just apply. Like, I really don't think this is a good route, and I do see it, so this is my main warning to you. Don't pay for a job. You just come here. Like, as long as you're qualified already, you can find work. You don't need to pay someone, especially that large amount of money. That's a massive amount of money out here. So yeah, don't pay for a job. And even if you look at the compensation just under the program fee, you're talking about 28,000 baht to 33,000 baht. 33 is kind of acceptable for a teacher salary, a monthly salary, of a beginner's teacher, I should say. But 28 is pretty low. Anything below 30 is pretty low. And I would imagine they're probably going to offer you the lower fee, especially if this is your first time and it's written on their website. So yeah, this isn't a high-paying job, and that fee is massive. And maybe they'll offer you some perks, but I probably don't think they will match the high amount of that fee. So this is the first thing I would suggest to you is don't pay for a job, apply for a job. So yeah, don't pay for a job. You really don't need to pay for a job. These fees are astronomical, if you ask me, my opinion. It's essentially a fee for them to find you a job, something that you can quite easily do yourself. You know, it's not difficult. Once you know where to look, it's not that difficult to find a job, or it's not that difficult to see job postings. Maybe it's difficult to actually get the job if you're not fully qualified. But as long as you're qualified, and as long as you have all the right credentials, as long as you're gonna find work most likely. So it's not like this is such a high fee to pay for someone to find you work. I just really don't recommend it at all. So that would be a massive red flag for me if you're looking for a job and it's like kind of through more of a travel agency and they're selling it as an experience package. What you'll find is once you get here, and it happens to some people, sadly, they expect like some kind of experience. They're expecting not that many working hours. They're expecting a really flexible schedule. And what they find is their school is just on a completely different page. They're expecting a full-time English teacher, and there's sort of a miscommunication. I think it's a little bit misleading the way they package these deals. And so yeah, I don't recommend you do this at all. Now, what we're going to look at next is not something I don't recommend. However, it may be right for you and it may not be right for you, okay? Just to recap, I don't recommend you go for a travel agency selling an experience. I don't recommend you pay for work. However, there are other ways of finding work, which may be right for you, may not be right for you, and that's what we'll look at now. So the other route you could possibly take, but I'm not necessarily recommending this, bear in mind, but it might be right for your circumstances. This is actually how I started this next route, but I would definitely not look for work via this method now, that's all I'm saying. So the other route you could take is through agencies and boot camps. So these also may charge a fee. Now, there's a difference between paying for an experience package and paying for a boot camp. The boot camp probably will be much less expensive. You'll probably be here in Thailand. They may include like your TEFL training. They may give you some like experience teaching in a classroom here in Thailand. You definitely have people there, I imagine, who are qualified teachers who can share their experiences with you, give you some information. They'll also do things like give you like sort of information about Thailand, make your transition smoother. So I don't discredit boot camps and agencies. There are some good ones, there are some bad ones, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But yeah, this is another route you could do. So you can see a lot of these kind of boot camps. You used to see more than you do now. You probably may find work through an agency as well. So yeah, it's not all bad. I found work through an agency initially. It was a bit of a decreased salary from my fellow colleagues who were hired directly by the school. That's why I would never do it now. But if you're just starting out and you're a bit confused, a bit intimidated, these can be a good route to take to finding work in Thailand. They're just not maybe the optimal for someone who wants to maximize how much you're making and the control over where you work and all that kind of thing. So you're giving up a bit of your control for sort of guaranteed work and sort of like a transitional period and help with that transitional period while you're moving to another country, which may be very valuable to you. So this may be very worthwhile for you if that's something you're looking for. When it comes to agencies and boot camps, the thing to remember is there are the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, so there are good agencies out there. There are agencies that will pay you fairly, that won't take too big of a chunk from your salary for helping you find the work and giving you that support. There are agencies that will offer support and help you and all that good stuff. So there are agencies where it's definitely worth taking a slight pay cut each month as they take their share. to find work, especially if you're like traveling alone. Maybe you want that support and help. Maybe you want to meet other people in a similar position who are traveling alone, who are likely to hire an agency to help them find work, who may be new to Thailand. There's a lot of reasons to look for an agency or a boot camp. It's just why I don't necessarily recommend them, although I have used them in the past, is some of them are good, some of them are bad. All of them will take a little bit of money from you. So for me, it's not the optimal way. We'll get to the optimal way after this. We'll just talk about boot camps and agencies for a little bit, and I'll try and explain my position on them a little bit better. So yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you want to watch out for if you decide to use an agency, then there are a few things I would definitely recommend you look out for. So it's not like I don't recommend you find an agency, just be careful when looking at agencies and boot camps. And the things I would watch out for are lower salaries. So yeah, like I mentioned, your agency will, if you're hired by an agency, if they find you work, they will be keeping a cut from your pay as like a fee for finding you that work and offering you support throughout the year. So you've got to be careful they're not taking too much. So you will definitely be on a lower salary than your colleagues at your new school who are hired directly by the school. Yeah, typically, you know, it's very like kind of difficult to suggest what an acceptable salary is for you. Maybe you have different expectations from me, but yeah, you don't want them to be taking too much from you. So check the salary, look for similar jobs in the similar areas and see how it compares. If it's too much, then yeah, just try and find a job yourself instead. But yeah, so lower salaries are something to expect and to be careful of. Although they're almost guaranteed if you find work for an agency, that's how the agency makes money for itself. So expect lower salaries, but also watch out they're not too low. So yeah, look out for the expensive training camps. So if they're expecting you to pay thousands, I'd probably avoid them. You know, like the boot camps that they offer, some are good. Like I said, some will give you experience in the classroom. Some will introduce you to like a whole group of new teachers. That will definitely probably happen. But some will have really good training. Some will have like experienced teachers come in, give you hints and tips. Some will provide you like the material to get fully qualified. If you need to do the TEFL qualification, you can do that with them. So check what's included. Look at like how expensive it would be to do those things on your own and compare and see if it's valuable enough for you. But yeah, look out if it's just like a 1 week course and it's just like a boot camp. They're calling it a boot camp, which is a 1 week sort of training. It might not be that valuable. You know, you might just go there. They might tell you things you already know or presume and then just drop you off at your school. So do take care, do look, do see like how long it is, what they offer, and make sure that what they're offering is of the value that they're selling it to you for. So check that out if you are going to go through one of these bootcamp routes. Like I said, not necessarily against them, just think they can be a little bit expensive and sometimes ineffective. Now, this is a big one. Be careful, be very careful about like kind of predatory contracts. So maybe, I'm not saying this is common or anything like that, but maybe they will try and take advantage of you as a new teacher because maybe you don't know what like you should be earning, what's a fair contract. Things to look out for, like I mentioned already, low salaries. Maybe they're taking a little bit too much, more than they should. Look out for like offers of free accommodation. Sometimes they'll take money for your accommodation, then put you in accommodation that's free provided by the school anyway. So look out for these things. Also like retaining kind of contracts where you're not allowed to work at another school that the agency provides teachers for unless you commit to so many years. So there's a lot of things to kind of watch out for. Just be careful and check the contract is all I'm going to say about that. All right, so now let's discuss how to actually find work in Thailand. So we've spoke about how I definitely wouldn't find work. We spoke about the agencies and boot camps, which is a way I may find work. That is something that I might recommend depending on your circumstances and your situation. But this is my favorite way to find work in Thailand. Sorry for leaving it to the end, but I wanted you to keep you hooked in this video. So this is what I would do. This is what I would do if I was looking for work. If I was looking for a teaching job here in Thailand, I would start here. So where to start? So I've put these two links up and I'll leave these links in the description of this video, so check it out for yourself. The first link is to a Facebook group called Teachers in Thailand, I think, Teaching Jobs in Thailand. I'll leave a link in the description, like I said, to this Facebook group. There are lots of different Facebook groups you can check out that have people posting jobs that's worthwhile checking out. So like, for example, you could go to like teaching jobs in Bangkok, jobs for expats, that kind of thing, teaching jobs in Phuket. This one's teaching jobs in Thailand, so you get a bunch of different jobs from all over posted here. And actually you do get a lot of jobs advertised on Facebook. Oftentimes it's like teachers who are working at a school and they're like struggling to find staff, so they'll try getting some of their teachers to post on Facebook groups. Sometimes it's agencies posting, so definitely ask what the situation is there and who's posting the job. But yeah, they should give you some information on the Facebook group, and it's not a bad place. I'm a member of these types of groups. I like to keep an eye. I like the fact that the job postings pop up on my timeline. It like gives me an idea of kind of how much sort of jobs are paying, where, and how many jobs are sort of out there in the market. So I do like following these groups, and I wouldn't be against applying for a job on one of these groups. The second link is my favorite way to find work. This is how I found my current job, and that is through the website ajan.com. Okay, and this is a job posting website for schools here in Thailand. Ajan actually means teacher or professor in Thai. That's where the word comes from. And yeah, it's a really good site. I think these are the most professional kind of job listings and job advertisements, which is why I really like them. There's a ton of information on each job posting. That's why it's my favorite. And we'll have a look at some of the examples of the posts you'll probably see on each site. Okay, so like I said, I'll leave a link to both of these pages in the description. So if you want to check them out yourself, head there. So an example of a teaching posting on a Facebook group would look something like this. So you'll get the odd job posting and it'll kind of look like a written out thing. Now, what to look out for, so NES or non-NES is what they stand for. So NES means native English speaking, NNES, non-native English speaker. Okay, so they're looking for both native English speakers and non-native English speakers. And they're also looking for a Japanese teacher. So they've got the location, the Hat Yai city. That's in the deep south. The salary is posted there, which is good, 30,000 Thai baht. A little bit on the lower end, but acceptable in my opinion. And the work permit and the visa is provided. Okay, so it's also got a little bit of information of what they expect from you in terms of a CV, passport page, all that kind of stuff. I've blanked out some of the personal information of the school and the person who wrote this because I didn't want to share too much. I don't know what I'm allowed to share on YouTube. However, yeah, so this is an example of kind of your bog standard post on a Facebook group. So it's pretty good. You get a kind of a grasp of what's expected and how much they'll pay you, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not a bad place to start. I wanted to show you this example because what I'll show you next is an example of a posting on ajan.com, and you should be able to see why I prefer to look for work on Ajan over these Facebook job postings, although I would apply to a job posting if I saw one I liked on Facebook as well. All right, so that is your typical posting on Facebook. Now let me show you a posting from Ajan just to compare and contrast a little bit, and you can see why I prefer Ajan over the Facebook postings a little bit. All right, so if we come over to a job posting on Ajan, so like I said, already the format just looks a little bit better to me, looks a little bit more professional. Again, I've blanked out some of the more personal details posting on this job. I don't want to get in trouble sharing things I shouldn't on YouTube. But yeah, this is a more specific job posting. So you can see it says science and social studies teacher, and we'll have a little bit of a look through here. So they're looking for one science and social studies teacher for primary grades 4 to 6. Like there's much more detail in what you'd be teaching and the grades you'd be teaching on this job posting, which ultimately is a bit more better for you. It's like they're not hiding anything, they're not keeping anything back. You get to see everything on Ajan typically, which is why I really like it. More information. So yeah, they're only open to native speakers, fortunately or unfortunately. So yeah, like I said, there's a ton of details here. As you can see, you've got your 18 teaching periods per week. So they tell you exactly how long you'll be in the classroom, which is useful to know. Not more than 30 students per class. Working with a partner, co-teacher of Thai nationality, and they'll be offering you a 12-month employment contract, which is renewable, and like you get so much more detail here than you would on Facebook. You'd have to ask all these questions. You maybe forget to ask some of these questions that you meant to ask. So that's why I really like it here. You're getting, like, there's nothing hidden per se. You know, you're getting told how many hours you'll be in the classroom, how many students will be in each class. You'll be working with a co-teacher, and the actual length of the contract. None of that was mentioned in the Facebook post. Maybe not intentionally. It's a less formal way of presenting a job position. And this is a more formal way, which has its value in my opinion. Also, so you get the benefits down here. So your starting salary 40,000 baht. You're right there. You've got an annual performance-based salary increment, an annual bonus, and health insurance, which is massive. So this looks like a pretty good teaching job position, actually. If I'm honest, I would be interested in applying here. But yeah, none of that was mentioned. Again, you just got the base salary on the other posting, and it's not that the other school doesn't offer that, it's just they didn't have the room to post it, or they didn't find it in a formal format in which I mentioned already. So repeating myself a little bit, but yeah, you probably get the idea. And again, there's a whole other page of information on this Ajahn posting. So they give you a full list of the qualifications they expect from you. So bachelor's degree in a science field, TEFL preferred, although usually they're guaranteed unless you've got a particular degree. Yeah, and then teaching experience is preferable. You've got to be proficient with computers. However, they only require PowerPoint, Word, Excel. Not exactly tech wizard, but that's all listed, and what they expect of you is listed, which is useful to know. And they also give you how to apply and all that kind of stuff as well. So they request your CV, copy of your passport, a copy of your degree and the diploma and transcript, covering email, and certificate of COVID-19 vaccination, which is what a lot of jobs are actually requesting right now. So yeah, you get the idea anyway. So you see that you get a ton of more information. It's way more informative. You know exactly what you need to send them. So that helps you look better because you're giving them all the details, everything they asked for and everything they want. So yeah, I like ajahn.com. It's definitely where I go to. It's where I found my current job. Like I said, I did work via an agency previously. However, I'm much happier finding work directly now. And I think it's a much better route for you to take. If you are looking to even start your teaching career, I would definitely recommend just going over to Ajahn, checking the qualifications, making sure you are qualified before you begin your job search, and then applying directly to the school. There's a lot of benefits to doing this. You'll have better control over where you work and the terms of your contract and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. All right, just to give you the final recap of my thoughts on looking for a job, a teaching job here in Thailand. First of all, what not to do. So don't pay for a job. Don't pay for one of those packages of a teaching experience in Thailand. It's probably not what it's made out to be. I really don't recommend you do that. Next, maybe use an agency or a boot camp, especially if you're traveling alone, especially if you're a little bit nervous, you've never been to Thailand. It's not a bad thing to do, just make sure they're not kind of ripping you off. Check the salary, the contract, and all that kind of stuff before you agree to pay for those agencies or boot camp fees. And finally, definitely start by looking for work on your own. So like I mentioned, I'll leave a link in the description to where I look for work. So that's like Facebook groups and the website Ajahn, which I really like. So that would be my recommendation for you if you are looking for work and you want to know how to actually find a job teaching English here in Thailand. If you found this video useful, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate it if you did that. And consider subscribing if you are an English teacher living in Thailand, because I do plan to make more videos about this topic. So yeah, maybe they'll be of interest to you. I wish you all the best on finding work here in Thailand if that's what you're currently looking for, and I hope to see you out here soon. Thanks a lot for watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to the end. I do greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.